What's up? Today I'm going to talk about the ego versus task orientation when it comes to being a creative person or creating in general in your lives. This is Heart School. Follow, like, subscribe and comment below, engage in all of the ways, and tune in depth for some guidance around how to work from a task mindset rather than ego, death, baby hurting, triggered, domino effect, catastrophizing, giving up, crawling back in your wormhole and dying mindset. Okay, with that, the place that I first heard it so concretely and distinctly and wonderfully distilled was a video called, I think it was Overcoming Our Egos by Craig Manning. It was a TED Talk. This person is a sports coach, high performance, competitive, I think like Olympic level sports coach, and just talked a lot about how key our mindset is when it comes to, and whether you think it's mindset or body set, but how key that is when it comes to our performance in life. And the difference between, in his example, the difference between athletes who just get in flow and do their thing and get back on the horse when they have obstacles, and athletes who, don't perform as well as they want to or feel they could, and then just like flop and fail and have a really bad experience, is that the ones that get back on the horse and have resilience usually have a task mindset, and the ones that are flailing and failing in a bad way and not learning from, not failing forward basically, are the ones who have an ego mindset, and they're identifying their whole self and their being, their capacity to offer the world anything, and they're probably having a reaction when they experience something like a failure that makes them feel like, I'm not going to be worthy of love, I'm going to be abandoned, I don't deserve to exist kind of feeling. Whereas there's the people who have a setback and maybe they fall over and they miss a goal, or maybe in the creative fields it's singing a bum note, or like missing the beat when you're drumming, or maybe it's being a public speaker and losing your thread, whatever it is. Or maybe it's even like doing something, running an event, and you get really bad feedback, or you get constructive feedback, but you take it really badly because you just can't handle the fact that you did something potentially wrong, and the stakes of doing something wrong are so bad. Really, the difference here is that the people who are taking the feedback on the chin or the nose, whatever the saying is, and thinking, okay, that wasn't perfect, but what can I do better? What practically do I need to go away and learn, research, practice, visualize, embody? Like, what do I need to do to make it better? And they don't sort of take it really to heart. I'm someone who takes things very to heart. I'm very sensitive, and when there are things that I fail at, it's a disaster. It feels like I'm going to die. It feels like I'm going to be abandoned by the group, by the community, and ostracized. And maybe that early experience, maybe I had early experiences where that did happen, and that's why I've got that trauma around that. But this has been a trait that I feel I've always had. A really early example was that when quite young, my dad took my brother and I golfing, and it was like kiddie golf, not like mini golf, but it was a small course. It was called Pitch and Putt in Skipton, if anyone knows it, in North Yorkshire. And I had this idea that I would just be able to like visualize, me hitting the ball and it going in the hole like 100 yards away. And just get it in, and it'll be easy. It's like, it looks easy, so it's going to be easy. And then when I actually like hit the ball, and it just like my club like hit the ground, and the ball just like kind of like rolled along a bit, the frustration and anger and self-hatred and disgust I felt was just like enough to, I threw my golf club. I actually threw my golf club. And I have this thing in a lot of areas where if I get something wrong, I think there's a lot of it's about our schooling as well, and we're really taught to like try, we've got to get things right, and failure is not embraced or encouraged, and we're not taught to fail forward, and we're not taught to value progress over perfection. At least I wasn't back in the day. Maybe it's different for kids these days, or people in more holistic, loving spaces like hard school. But yeah, that note from Craig Manning, it's really worth a watch anyway, but I'll talk a little bit more about this in application and relation to creativity and creative work and expression now. So Rick Rubin, in his book The Creative Act, A Way of Being, talks a little bit about this, the difference between people as artists who say they have this attitude of like, this is shit, like this song is shit, therefore I am shit and I'm just gonna like destroy myself. There's those kinds of people, and there's the people who are like, that's shit, and the reason, like, knowing that something's not good enough or feeling that something's good enough doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It could actually just be this impulse to make it better and to have that standard about your own work that's not necessarily toxic perfectionism. It's not something that's unattainable and you're using as a stick to beat yourself with because you're not good enough and you can't do what you really know you're capable of. It's more like it's a gentle thing that is showing you actually that feeling that that's not quite right, that I know it could be better, I'm going to go away and make it better. That's something that really distinguishes, I wouldn't say necessarily people who are successful and not successful, but people who suffer for their art and people who just kind of, take it on the chin. Take it on the chin? Take it on the chin, get back on the horse, have resilience, and make changes that enable their work and their offerings in the world to be better. And I'm still working through this myself. I think I have such a strong, extreme ego and self-criticism, and the stakes of like doing something shit are so high and bad that I've had to like fully react and swing against that, because it's blocked me for it's blocked me in a lot of ways, and I swing to this other extreme of just like compulsively putting something out when it's not even, it could be so much better. And I feel like this is the case with probably quite a lot of my artwork actually, and I can own that because it's been like I did the best I could. Like, I don't have the resilience to collaborate with other people or ask for help, whereas there are a lot of artists who, if they didn't know how to do something, rather than cutting off their nose to spite their face and resentfully like doing it anyway and sharing it even when they know it could be better, would actually just ask for help in service of the work. And this is because when we serve the work and we're in service, serve the art, we're actually not really thinking about ourselves too much. And I will own that as an artist, as a person, a lot of my work has been serving myself and serving my ego and my need to be seen, my need to be validated. Maybe this YouTube channel and all of this Heart School stuff is an example of that, because it could be better. And I'm also, it's this fine line between like knowing when you're being perfectionistic and it's blocking you, and when you're being like healthily, this could be better, let's improve and have a task, like break it down. What do I need to do to improve? Go away, do it, no angst, no bullshit, and just, serve the work in a way. The way that obstacles affect people with this ego fragility can be really, really, really debilitating, let's say, and restrictive, and we can really catastrophize when something doesn't go our way or we encounter an obstacle, and we can have this domino effect of thinking that, well, it's not supposed to exist, I'm not supposed to do this anyway, I'm just going to give up and not bother. And where the resilience comes in is that we need to experience failing forward in order to fail again, fail better, as Samuel Beckett said, in order to learn that failure is necessary and it's a part of creativity. When we are creating, there's a gap between what we envisage and what we hope for and what we idealize as being possible and what is possible in reality. And there's often a lot of failures and sticking points and adjustments have to be made when we are creating anything in our lives, whether that's a relationship, a garden, a business, a painting, a poem. There's got to be this negotiation where we're able to hold the vision, and maybe this relates to the sports performance as well, having this idea that I'm going to get on the court and play the best I've ever played, and then in reality something's off energetically and it's just self-sabotage mess, one thing after the other, and then going back into that little child ego wounded place where it's I can't do this, I'm crap, I'm not worthy of love, and everything can really domino and spiral. So where the resilience comes in is building a compassionate relationship with yourself and using kind, loving and soft words to really nurture that part of us that is scared of failure, and tell it that it's okay to fail and it's okay to get it wrong, and that when things are wrong or when the stakes seem really high, actually we're often our own worst critics, and often there are small fixes or adjustments that can be made to improve things that if we ask for help or if we get the guidance that we need, we can then serve the work and not let it just ruin our our path or our journey. So ways to detach from that ego, that creates this kind of effect where everything's taken really personally and everything feels really high stakes and I'm going to die if I get it wrong, is to reframe failure, possibly change the persona. So maybe think that it's not me, I'm just not anything. There's this person, Geraldine, who is performing a gig and her sensations in her body are such that her throat closes up. So how is she going to address that to improve her performance? And then it would be oh, okay, yeah, talking about myself or talking about yourself as if you're someone else who just needs to make a few practical adjustments and learn a few things to rewrite or rewire a certain pattern or behaviour. And here another behavioural stretches come into it as well, because you might give yourself little challenges, pretend you're another person, whatever it is that helps get out of that really entrenched ways and reactions and responses to things that shut you down and make you feel like you're a failure. I think one thing I did for a little while, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but it's to remove judgment entirely. So just every time you're judging anything, particularly yourself, just label in your mind. And this comes from just mindfulness in general and having a little bit of maybe a relationship with meditation, not necessarily a formal practice, but just mindfulness, mindlessness, awareness, where when you're getting chattering thoughts or judgments, you're able to say, judgment, that's a judgment, I don't do judgment, no thank you, I don't want judgment, I don't need judgment, this is what it is and it exists, and and what of it, just practice that for a while, what happens when you're not judging things really highly and perfectionistically, with the great stakes of failure being that this probably in your body a feeling that you're gonna be cast out or be unsafe. maybe in your mind that's commentated with like, what an idiot, I'm a piece of shit, like whatever it is that stick you're beating yourself with. But usually there's a little bodily kind of sense of safety that is that's being triggered there. And on that note, making it more of a thing to just actually self-soothe and recognise, feel your own vulnerability, feel when you're reacting to things, and actually like making that okay, holding yourself within that, being like, oh wow, okay, that didn't go how I expected it to. I feel like I'm failing, and being able to get a bit of emotional intelligence around that, labelling your feelings, labelling the sensations in your body, just for what they are, holding yourself and loving yourself in them, and not necessarily going into stories about what this means about you or your right to exist in the world, many of which are the ego trying to help us. And yes, that's it, and I'm going to link the task ego video in the comments and in the caption rather below. Please like, subscribe, share with someone who might need to hear this thing about cultivating the task side of one's self rather than the and softening the ego side, and inquire about creativity coaching on the links below. Thank you, and go forth with an amazing problem solving task, ready for anything, get back on the horse mindset, whilst cuddling, loving, accepting, embracing the wounded ego parts of us and our inner childs that need love and need to know that failure in any definition, any magnitude, is okay.